you will discover that what I say has always been there since the beginning. Asher speaks of it freely, sometimes a little too freely. But under the enchantment of that highly validating mask, I've realized Asher cannot be believed, at least not by other people. A highlight of this situation was the idea that I somehow fight Asher's battles and that his loved ones fix the problems he creates. This is also a narrative that doesn't hold up, but in the interest of demonstration, I have refrained from jumping in at every turn as my own person, so that people can see that Asher does handle his own problems. He doesn't handle them in a way that appeals to everyone, and that is another frankly unfair element in people's disbelief. And so, it'll have to be up to me now. The third stage of erasure is consensus. Erasure begins with the undermining of credibility, and then it works through mistranslation. Words taken, reframed, explained away, but soon after comes the third stage, consensus. It's not enough for one interpreter to rewrite a person. Others must agree. Agreement does not come through fact-checking here, but through the repetition of storylines until they become rote. The more times a mask is described, the more real it becomes for people, and every repetition calcifies it, and the fiction becomes structure. Those who read Pratchett might see some similarities here. Consensus is intoxicating. It relieves the burden of thinking. It relieves the discomfort of uncertainty. When a group agrees on what the real Asher must be, the relief feels like truth. But it's just convenience. This is a double standard. And here's the paradox. Asher is accused of being both too powerful and too incapable, too intimidating but too incompetent, too articulate yet too incomprehensible, too calculating yet too impulsive. These contradictions don't survive scrutiny, but consensus thrives in contradiction. Though mutually exclusive, each claim serves to reinforce the same point. Asher cannot be trusted to speak for himself. Meanwhile, those making the claims remain above suspicion. Their inconsistencies are overlooked because the frame already paints them as reasonable. Reasonable people don't need to be examined. Unreasonable people do. Endlessly. And never to satisfaction. What reinforces these mechanisms is the idea that if you were to do your own research, seek to verify claims, pore over evidence, then you would be violating the privacy and well-being of the aggrieved individual by challenging them and their account, by questioning them. The effective siloing of information creates a structure where having the intention to look into the truth becomes tantamount with hurting. When other people do things, Asher hurts too. So what's the cost of believability? When someone cannot be believed on their own terms, they are trapped. No amount of proof, no demonstration, no consistency, no evidence will suffice. If he argues, it proves hostility. If he ignores, it proves guilt. If he apologizes, it proves manipulation. And if he refuses to apologize, he's arrogant. The game has no winning condition, and that is its design. The only winning condition baked in is to not play at all. And it's the reason why, if you've been paying attention at all, Asher has been making references to the 1983 movie War Games. It wasn't boasting or threatening anyone. He was describing the situation. This no-win condition is also why narrators often make big deals about how being the better person means walking away, and offer that as the only viable alternative when they talk indirectly to their targets through their public sphere proxy. The question nobody asks, though, is whose standards are being used when forming the rubric of what a better person is. The myth that I or others close to him must fix what Asher breaks is not a description of reality. It's a description of bias. The interpreter cannot allow Asher to be the one who manages consequences because that would threaten the consensus. It would reveal the mask as false. And yet, Asher continues to play openly. he refuses to mask, he refuses to hide, that refusal is costly because belief is not distributed according to truth, but according to the comfort of those listening. So the fiction persists. He does not handle things. Others do it for him. Every time he navigates conflict without intervention, it is either ignored or reframed. The evidence that disproves this narrative is right there. But evidence doesn't matter when consensus has already declared him unreliable. And so, the stages converge. Words are disqualified, interpreters take over, consensus is manufactured, responsibility is reassigned and redistributed. The result is a cycle that sustains itself indefinitely, each stage feeding the next. Once installed, it becomes almost impossible to break, because even resistance becomes interpreted as compliance with the mask. And this is the sordid history of Asher Wolfstein's bad crazy, finally told by the person closest to him. It is the story of a man couched in the mundane who looks for meaning beyond it, a disturbingly deep thinker, a believer in justice, yet somehow also allegedly an abuser, frighteningly intimidating in resolve, highly reliable by foregoing empty apologies, yet also completely unreliable. A gentle beast, yet also somehow an asshole beyond reproach, an outsider like me, like you, like so many others, and the raging disorder set to tear him apart. And the people and machinery in place that seek to exploit and exacerbate that disorder, to drive it to dysfunction as the spectacle that fuels the constant grind that crushes outsiders who are too inconvenient, who don't fit and aren't neurodivergent in photogenic, sexy, stream-friendly, marketable ways, for the benefit of those who have better lighting. Remember my earlier points? Don't forget to ask yourself, who is being explained? Who is doing the explanation? What is being explained? And most important of all, who benefits?